Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Maximizing Your Life, Your Impact with Dr. Maxwell. Ubah. This is also Leadership Moments. We'll still start a series on leadership, but right now we're talking about maximum living and fulfilling your goals, your dreams, your vision for life. I am Dr. Maxwell Ubah, and today I'll be bringing you a fresh word. I'll be bringing you a simple but very powerful concept. So I want to thank you, Glenn. I think last week you are the first. This week also you're also the first, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining me. Tell your friends, tell your family. Thank you. I hope your week was good. I hope your week was great. While we wait for the others to come. Okay, thank you, John. Thank you. This is Bimbo Jams. Thank you for joining me. Please tell your family, tell your friends that we are live and we'll be starting any moment from now. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting this morning. And we'll just continue the series that we started on the 7 fundamental foundational beliefs that you need to succeed in life or achieve your wildest dreams. So because of time, I've gotten feedback that we should fantastic program, but let's try and see if we can do 30 minutes. You understand? So Bimbo, thank you. Bernard, my beautiful wife, thank you. Everybody, thank you. Just tell your friends, tell your family. So we'll try and see if we can keep this to 30 minutes and 30 minutes today. So we need to get started. The first message of this series talks about that your wildest dreams are achievable, and you can go to the video and you can look at it and see the things that we said about your wildest dreams, that you can actually accomplish it. For example, if you want to earn ₦1 million a month, there are people right now earning more than that a month in Nigeria. So that means that what you are dreaming, if you want to earn 10 million a month, there are people right now earning 10 million a month in Nigeria. That means that your wildest dreams, you understand, which is in your future, is somebody's reality or in somebody's past. And that was what we did in episode 1. Then we now said there are 7 foundational. If you want to build a structure, you need to put the foundation. Depending on how high the structure is supposed to be, then the foundation needs to be deep. So we are taking time and we're looking at 7 foundational beliefs that are necessary for success and achievement in life. So we said the first one is that life is fair. Usually when people say life is not fair, it's because they didn't get what they want. Yes, we also said in that episode there are certain things that we cannot explain because the secret things belongs to God. But having said that, if you look at it, even people that were born blind, we gave the example of Stevie Wonder, legally blind, and yet today he's a Grammy Award winning artist. And some people would have used blindness as an excuse. In Nigeria also, we see some people with physical infirmities and they are successful. They've made the best from what life has given to them. Now, the second thing we said, the second belief is I am responsible. So if life is fair and our results are a function of our actions, then I am responsible for my success and my failure. And I said that one problem is we put everything in the hands of God. You understand? We put everything in the hands of God. And I asked a question once, and I preached this in church because I'm also a pastor, that if God is a constant, why are our results different? How come 2 people who attend the same church, you understand, and get different results? But God is a constant. So would God as a father want one of his sons or daughters to do well and the others to struggle? And the answer is no. And point number 2, or belief number 2, says I am responsible. It's the concept of taking responsibility or accountability for your life. Only when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, I'm responsible for the current state, would you make the changes, you understand, make the changes necessary for you to get to your future state. That's belief number 2. Belief number 3, which is what we covered yesterday, is I deserve better. Until you come to that point in your life where you say to yourself, I am happy with what I am producing, but I deserve better, you will not start the process of transformation. We talked about the difference between gratitude and positive dissatisfaction. Gratitude says in all things give thanks. Positive dissatisfaction says you need to believe God for more and believe that you can do more. So gratitude says I am happy with the number of people that came this morning. Positive dissatisfaction says this. I can actually grow this to 1,000 to 5,000. And that positive dissatisfaction is that tension that keeps you going to want to become your best. The phone you are using today is better than the one you used 5 years ago or 2 years ago, even 1 year ago. Now, at the time that phone was produced, it was the best, so to speak, at that time. But people are always growing and developing. So it's positive dissatisfaction that makes the company say there must be something else we can add to improve on the quality of our services. So innovation, breakthrough, lasting change comes from that feeling that I deserve more, and I think I can get to that point, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to get there. Today is belief number 4. I'm going fast because I said I was going to do this in 30 minutes. In belief number 4, I remember I talked about the concept of Pygmalion last week, but I stopped, and I said here last week that I'm going to start here. So let me talk about Pygmalion before I go to belief number 4. Pygmalion is a concept in Greek mythology. What they said is that the ancient there's a sculptor called Pygmalion that made a sculpture, a beautiful lady, and he desired or prayed to the gods that the sculptor will come alive, and this desire or his request was granted to him. Now that principle was brought into management, and it says that your expectation of others usually becomes a reality. It's the concept of self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you expect your son to do well, if you think your son is intelligent, you look for good school for your son or for your daughter. How you relate to your son or your daughter will be a function of your expectations concerning that. And I now said the second part is the Galatea effect. Galatea says Pygmalion is the person desiring that the sculptor will come alive. Galatea is the sculptor, and what it says in the Galatea effect is that your expectation of yourself also becomes a reality. So if you expect that I'm going to do well, if you expect that you're going to come out with the first class, you're not likely to come out with the third class. If you expect that you're going to come out with the first class, you're putting the effort and the energy in order for you to come out with the first and the second class. So that's I deserve better, and raising your expectations, because as you raise your expectations of yourself and raise your standard, then guess what will happen? The effort that you put in order to get the result that you want will increase, and you begin to see the result, and now you say, wow, dreams do come true. So belief number 4 today, for time's sake, I've just done a summary. You can go to the past videos and watch it. It takes me back to 1939 and 1940. 1939, Hitler, you understand, was ravaging Europe, causing a lot of trouble in Europe, and a man called Winston Churchill was trying to arouse interest in England, and says we shouldn't take this man lightly, that this guy is going to go from one country to the other. They didn't pay attention, but by 1940 they came to the conclusion that I think this man is saying the truth. They had a debate in the parliament, and with Chamberlain felt, I am not the person to lead this England. I like that. Sometimes as a leader you need to recognize I have reached my limit, and it's also wisdom to say somebody else, I need to hand over the baton to somebody else, and that person happens to be Winston Churchill. Imagine you are handed over the baton to lead England at a time when there is war ravaging the whole of Europe, and you are the next stop, so to speak. What would you do as a leader? Now, some leaders would complain, play the blame game, blame their predecessors. Why are you handing over to me now? Why didn't you hand over to me much earlier? And the rest. What do you expect me to do? They'll play the blame game. And every time you see a leader playing that blame game, it means that the person is not really ready to lead. Because in leadership, you take responsibility from when the baton was given to you. The Olympics started yesterday, the opening ceremony, and guess what? They will do the relay race, and I will hand over the baton to somebody else, or a teammate. Team member 1 will hand over the baton to team member 2, and team member 2 will hand over the baton to team member 3. Team member 3 cannot say, you handed over the baton to me last, so why should I run? You take the baton from wherever the baton was handed over to you, and you try to run to see if you can cover the gap. And that was what Winston Churchill decided to do. The baton has been handed over to me. Now I'm the person on the scene. It's time for me to take control of what is happening in in England and guarantee the sovereignty of our nation. He wrote in his memoir, and I quote, on May 10th, 1940. Please listen to this because I think it's very important, because belief number 4 comes from this example. Is like the perfect example from the political scene about belief number 4. We can go to religion, we can go spiritual, we can go to medicine, but belief number 4 we want to use Winston Churchill. And look at what he wrote. He said, "But I cannot conceal from the reader of this truthful account that I went to bed at about 3 a.m. That's when he went to bed. I was conscious of a profound sense of relief." He said, "At last, I had the authority to give directions over the whole scene." So maybe before now, he had restrictions. He said, "At last, I had the authority to give directions over the whole scene." I need you to pay attention to the next sentence that he wrote. He says, "I felt as if I were walking with destiny, and that all my past life had been but a preparation for this hour and for this trial." I want you to look at that again. It says, "I felt as if I were walking with destiny, and that all my past life had been but the preparation for this hour and for this trial." It now says, "Therefore, although impatient for the morning, I slept soundly." So that's belief number 4. You know, that I felt as if I were walking with destiny, and that all my past life had been but what? A preparation for this hour. I call belief number 4 the sense of walking with destiny. That's what I call belief number 4. The sense of walking with destiny is belief number 4. So belief number 4 says, I was born to do this. That's belief number 4. Or this is what I was born to do. And every time a man succeeds, every time a man becomes great, every time a man, when I talk about man, I'm talking about male, female, you understand? Every time someone becomes great, successful, you find out that that person comes to that epiphany, that moment of realization that this is what I was born to do. And when you come into destiny, you now find out that everything before now has been preparing you for destiny. Everything before now has been preparing you for this assignment, this purpose, this plan. So belief number 4 is about purpose, is about destiny. Are you there this morning? Are you there? Somebody there in the house? Belief number 4 is about purpose, the sense of purpose. All my life, you understand, all my life had been but a preparation for this hour and for this trial. There's this recognition that this is what I was born to do. So remove the Second World War, for example. Perhaps we might not have known or celebrated Winston Churchill. Remove apartheid, for example. Maybe we would not have known Nelson Mandela. You understand? That was what he was born to do. So every man here, there's what is called a sense of destiny. This is what I was born to do. So that's what belief number 4 is about this morning. Is that sense of discovering what am I supposed to do. And each one of us have a thug of destiny calling us on the inside, preparing us for what destiny has in store for us. So let's talk a bit about purpose. But before I go there, I want to read a quote by somebody that I saw this quote and it blessed me. It's Václav Havel. Václav Havel was the last president of Czechoslovakia. Remember that country, Czechoslovakia, from 1989 to 1992. And when the company separated, Czech, Slovak, and some other countries, he became the first president of the Czech Republic from 1993 to 2003. And guess what Václav Havel said? And I think you will like this. He said, the real test of a man is not when he plays the role he wants for himself. You know, sometimes we want certain roles. This is what I want to do. This is what I am. So we choose. We make certain choices. The real test, he said, the real test of a man is not when he plays the role he wants for himself. He said, but when he plays the role destiny wants for him. Wow. So there comes a time in your life when you recognize that this is what destiny has called me to do. And sometimes what destiny calls me to do might not be what I really want to do or what I think I should be doing, but destiny calls me and says the real test is not when he plays the role he wants for himself, but when he plays the role destiny wants for him. So if you look at the concept of purpose, everything in life, you don't manufacture something without deciding what that thing is supposed to do. So for every creation, there is a creator. So every creation, the phone I'm using for my Instagram has a creator, and there is a purpose for every creation. So the creator designs the purpose and says this is what the purpose is meant for. So if you need to maximize the utility of the equipment, you need to understand the mind of the maker. In the same vein, there is something in God's mind concerning your life, and which is that sense of purpose and sense of destiny. Can I say this here? Purpose doesn't mean, I think we'll spend some other time talking about discovering your purpose, because it goes beyond the scope of this 30-45 minutes discussion. This is for me just to whet your appetite, you understand, to tell you that belief number 4 is that you must come to that point like Winston Churchill, where this is what I was born for. And that thing that you are born for, notice Winston Churchill found his purpose where? In politics. So you can find your purpose in politics, you can find your purpose in banking, you can find your purpose in medicine, you can find your purpose in oil and gas, you can find your purpose in IT, you can find your purpose in what you call pastoral ministry. But not every one of us needs to fall in that pastoral ministry. So permit me to use this example. I said that people can be classified into 2 groups, and I use the example of Joseph and I use the example of Moses. So permit me to use both examples. You understand? And both of them, there's something common to both of them. But what was common to both of them is the palace in Egypt, the palace of Egypt. Moses, you understand, Joseph was prime minister in Egypt. You understand? Moses was brought up in the palace of Egypt. But notice this: one was sent to the palace, that was his purpose. The other one was taken away from the palace, that was his purpose. So his purpose was not in the palace, his purpose was outside the palace. Now, and I say to people that our purposes are divided into 2. There's the Joseph's camp and there's the Moses's camp. That every person you see will fall in one of those 2 categories. And for the Joseph's camp are the people that are sent to the palaces, and that palace can be an educational palace, that palace can be a business palace, that palace can be an oil and gas palace, whatever it is. Now Joseph was sent to the palace to address who? Notice, address who? Address Pharaoh. You understand? It's like a secular role, but it's significant. That was Joseph's purpose. Moses was taken away from the palace for the children of Israel, because he needed to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt. Now, so the palace is not purpose. The question is, are you supposed to be there? That's where purpose is. So I can be in banking but not be in the center of purpose, and I can be in banking and be in the center of purpose. So Joseph was in the palace of Egypt and he was in the center of purpose. Moses was in the palace in Egypt and was not in the center of purpose. So you need to find that, you understand, is this where I am supposed to be? There's always the talk of destiny, and if you pay attention, destiny would always will tell you where you are supposed to be. I don't know if I'm making sense, guys. I don't know if I'm making sense. I want to listen to somebody. Am I making sense? You understand? I want to listen to somebody. Am I making sense? You understand? So let me pause and just be sure that somebody is following me. You understand? Thank you, Ubah. You understand? We're talking about purpose, you understand, and using the palace. And so if you see Moses' ministry, thank you, Glenn. Moses' ministry was very spiritual. You understand? It was signs and wonders and parting the Red Sea, and you understand, Moses walked in signs and wonders. And Joseph's own ministry assignment looked very secular. There was no signs and wonders. There was no parting of the Red Sea. There was no praying and darkness covering the whole, there was nothing like that. The only thing Joseph did was interpret the dreams of Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh, see, in the times of abundance, save, in the times of famine, use that. That was the only thing Joseph did. So his purpose was you look at it, you call it physical, but it's as spiritual. It's as spiritual as that of Moses. And what I see in the body of Christ, for example, permit me to use that, in Christianity, for example, and in life, for example, is that people don't find that where they're supposed to be. People don't find that where they're supposed to be. So somebody is doing oil and gas, banking, IT, you understand, you're a business, you're an entrepreneur, but you think that until you come to the altar and you are preaching from the altar, that is when you're in purpose. That what you're doing is secular, that this is, no, this is, and you now find a lot of people who should not be pastoring resigning from their jobs because they think they should be pastoring. I feel that there are certain pastors that will do better as secular. They will do better as secular ministers. Take John Maxwell, for example. John Maxwell. Take Martin Luther King, for example. Both of them were pastors. Martin Luther King was a Baptist pastor. John Maxwell was a pastor. I don't know whether he's a Baptist pastor, but John Maxwell got a stage in his life and he felt, I need to take this to the world. And John Maxwell resigned from his pastorate. And today, John Maxwell is a global phenomenon and has helped a lot of leaders worldwide become better leaders. Same with Martin Luther King, that resigned from his pastorate and says, I need to give my voice to the civil rights movement. And when he resigned from the pastorate to work with the civil rights movement, people felt, how can you resign from your pastorate because you want to be a part of civil rights movement? It didn't make sense. But looking back today, Martin Luther King was like a Moses that the palace was not comfortable with. I need to be in the wilderness with people. Same thing with John Maxwell. John Maxwell was like a Moses that eventually found out that he was supposed to be a Joseph. So the question I want to ask you right now is, where do you think that you belong? You're either a Moses or a Joseph. You're either a Moses or a Joseph. And certain times in life, God gives some people the grace to be both at the same time, but usually you start with one. So some people have the grace, they straddle both. You understand? They walk in both graces, but there's usually one predominant one. So Daniel, for example, was in the Joseph's category, but he was so close to God, so to speak, that he had visions of what will happen in the end time. So let me not talk about this. So I said your purpose is greater than your place where you are. Your purpose is greater than your palace. You understand? That's what I said. Now I just want to not bring a simple concept here and not talk about the concept of purpose. If you, from the business world, from, you understand, spiritual world, the best-selling book after the Bible, best-selling book to the best of my knowledge, is The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. It has sold over 50 million copies. Best-selling hardback book is The Purpose-Driven Life. Another bestseller is by a man called Simon Sinek, Start With Why. So you can see why purpose resonates. It resonates. You know why purpose resonates? Because purpose gives a sense of meaning. People struggle with meaning. They get to that point in their life where they are doing things, but they don't know why they are doing what, you understand. They don't even know why they are where they are. They don't have that sense of meaning. Like Esther, who is sitting in the palace, but there's trouble in the land, and she says, I cannot. And Mordecai reminded her, you have come to the throne for such a time as this. There are a lot of people who are on the throne, but they do not understand why they're on the throne. So purpose gives that sense of meaning. It tells me, this is the reason why I am here. This is the reason why I became a president. This is the reason why I became a governor. This is the reason why I am doing this. It gives a sense of meaning. And that sense of meaning unlocks passion. You understand? Passion comes from a sense of meaning. Why am I so excited doing what I'm doing? Because I am in my purpose. You understand? I am in my purpose to raise a generation. You understand? A generation of leaders. I am in my purpose. So that passion, that excitement, that motivation, you don't need to motivate me to do what I am doing. You don't need to motivate me to go to class and speak. You don't need to motivate me to stand on the altar on Sunday to speak, because I'm in my purpose. So when you're in your purpose, first it gives you meaning. Meaning will unlock your passion. You understand? That passion will bring discipline, creativity and discipline. So you find out that people in their purposes, they are very creative. You wonder how are they doing this? Because when you are in your purpose, like a fish in water, you understand, it just happens. There are things that happen a bit natural for you, ideas, wisdom, it just happens for you, and finally that leads to superior results. So for you to succeed in life, you need to discover your purpose, or you need to infuse purpose into what you are doing. Am I asking you to leave your job? No. I'm saying that if you have found yourself in the palace, find out why am I in the palace. And as long as you are there, infuse meaning to it. I said I'm going to keep this to 30 minutes so I can take time to answer some questions. So I want to go to physics. I think those days when we did physics in secondary school, they told us that if you take white light and pass through a prism. So let me ask, how many colors make white light? So that let me be sure that my revelation is correct. How many colors make white light? Let's see who will answer this first. How many colors make white light? How many colors are in white light? Okay. Anybody? White light. That if you pass white light through a prism, you see certain colors. How many do you think we'll see? I'm waiting for a response. I just want to see. Okay, because of time. Okay. Somebody says 8. Thank you. 7. I was told it was 7. You understand? Thank you. I was told it was 7. When we did physics, I was told it was 7. It's called the Roy Grieve range. I have one of my former Oga here, Mr. Balogo. I greet you. Thank you. I greet everybody here. Everybody. In fact, I would like to recognize you, Mr. Balogo. Thank you. Damola. Thank you. All the people that are on the call. Ebo, I thank you. Chisom, everybody on the call. I would just want to say, Bernard, I thank you. In fact, Bernard has given us Roy Grieve: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Is the Roy Grieve range. So see this, and see, I'm writing a book on that. I think I wrote it so many years ago. And notice in physics, they said that each light exists in its wavelength. No, never forget that each light has a wavelength. Now, when you move from one wavelength to the other, you move from one light to another light. So you have the red wavelength, you have the orange wavelength, you have the green, you have the blue, you have the indigo, and you have the violet. The red light cannot exist, cannot shine, you understand, cannot emit light in the blue wavelength. So can I say this to you? Every man has a wavelength, and in that wavelength you discover your color, you discover the secret of greatness. So when you see somebody shining, you understand the person has simply discovered what his wavelength is, that this is my wavelength. And that wavelength might be music for the person, that wavelength might be something else for somebody else. But every time a man is succeeding, a woman is succeeding, it simply means that the person has discovered his wavelength. And when you find your wavelength, you don't struggle to shine. When you find your wavelength, you don't compete with other people, because you know that this is my wavelength. I have friends and partners that we do consulting and training together, and guess what? There are things they can do that I cannot do. You understand? I cannot do. My strength lies in developing concepts and ideas. You understand? That's what my strength lies in. I can take a simple topic and develop different concepts for me. I have another friend whose strength lies in giving examples and stories and the rest. But guess what? We complement each other, because when you put the lights together, they complement and form like white light. There's no need for competition. The reason for competition is simply because you've not discovered your own wavelength. Because when you discover your own wavelength, you tell yourself, oh, if I see a yellow light shining, I bless God for that yellow light shining. I know I am not yellow light. I celebrate yellow light. I might be violet. I might be indigo. So let me speak to somebody here and using the concept of the wavelength. I think the red light, if I'm right, this is over 30 years ago that I did physics. I think maybe the red light, I don't know which one is the first wavelength, but let me use the word wave range. So let's assume, so that way I'm correct, that the red red light is the first wavelength, and the violet is the last wavelength. So see this, when you see somebody as a red light shining, in the concept of purpose, what do you tell yourself? Celebrate the person, but get ready for your own turn, and get ready, because the wavelength, you understand, it will come to you. When that time comes, the question is, would you be ready when the time comes? Would you be ready for your own wavelength when that time comes? So when it gets to your wavelength, are you prepared to shine? Are you prepared to make a difference? Are you prepared to emit your light for the world to see? So that was what Mr. Church said, and I go back to him. That was where I started. He says, I had this sense of relief, you understand, sense of relief, that at last I had the authority to give direction. So it has come to me right now, and now it's my time to shine. And that says, I felt I was working with destiny, but that all my past life had been but a preparation. So you prepare for purpose, you prepare for your light, you prepare for your trial, you prepare for your time, you prepare for that sin, a preparation. When opportunity comes, you understand, you are ready, you are prepared for it, to maximize it. And that is the message I bring to you today. The message I bring to you today is that you have a purpose. There's a purpose that stimulated your creation, and in that purpose, nobody can do it better than you. You understand? That's your wavelength. That's the place where you're supposed to shine. That's the place where you find your genius and your creativity. You understand? In your purpose. You have it. But you need to discover it. A lot of people go through life struggling to become red light when they should be green, blue, indigo, or violet. Yes, we know we use some lights more, but absent one, you will not form white light. And today, the chaos we see in the world are people whose purposes have not been fulfilled. For every problem you see, there is a purpose that somebody was sent to do and to accomplish. I think I need to bring this to a close. The last thing I want to say here, this topic on purpose is so important that I remember like 3 years ago I did a series called Finding Your Spark. So maybe when I finish the 7 fundamental beliefs, we'll just take the context of finding your spark. You understand? You know, that ignition. How do I find my spark? What makes me outstanding? What makes me stand out? What makes me unique? What brings me into that my zone of greatness, my moment of greatness? Your moment of greatness is in finding your purpose. You might never be Mother Teresa. You might not be moved. You understand, when you see people on the street, you might be moved with developing software codes and the rest. Mother Teresa's role is as important as the person that develops the software to make life. Without those software, I won't be doing what I'm doing today. And imagine how they made life a lot easier because somebody took that as his own purpose and was ready when that opportunity came. So this is belief number 4. Belief number 4 says, I'm a creature of purpose. I have a great purpose to fulfill. I'm here on a massive assignment, you understand? And the true test of a man, like what the former president said, is not when he chooses what he wants to do, but when he plays the role destiny wants for him. My name is Dr. Maxwell Ubah, and I said I'm going to do this for 30 minutes, and I think I kept the time, even though it's 32 minutes. But hey, if you have any question here, at this point, I can take like 5 minutes and just listen to questions, comments, and take it from there. So thank you once again for everybody who came on the call. Godwin, thank you. So this is also for me to recognize. I can't see all the names, but if you write a comment, I can see your name, and I'll just recognize you. Thank you for coming on the call today. So we've done belief number 4. Now belief number 5, you understand, it's a continuation. See how we started. The very foundational belief. Can you discover your purpose and still face some challenges from the top? Of course, you understand. Of course, you will not purpose. Even in the sea, a fish in water, there are other animal sharks. So you understand. So there are so many challenges that you will face. You will face challenges from the external environment that wants you to do what they think you should do. So that's why we send our kids to school to do certain stuff. But you also face challenges from within, which is you believing that this is your own purpose. Because sometimes also when you see some other people doing some things, I tell my wife there's some things as a pastor I would never do, even though I see people doing it and it's bringing the crowd that they can, but I cannot do it because for me that is not my purpose. So would you face challenges? Of course. Thank you, Damola. Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Obina. Thank you. So that's what the message today is, and we would build on it. There's so much about purpose, you understand. For example, I will tell you that purpose is connected to problems. Every time you think about purpose, just remember that there's a problem that purpose is connected to. What was the problem that Joseph was connected to? It was the problem of interpreting Pharaoh's dreams and preserving a generational life. What was the problem that Moses was connected to? Was bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt. You can't talk about purpose without looking at problem. At the heart of purpose is a problem. What was Winston Churchill's purpose? What was the problem of his purpose? The problem of his purpose was securing Britain. What was Esther's purpose? Delivering the children. So every time the children of Israel, every time you're talking about purpose, you're talking about purpose from the perspective of solving a problem. And we can talk about which kind of problems can you solve, all that. Okay, but I think this is also telling me, oh, thank you, boss Archie. Thank you, my boss Archie. Thank you for coming. So this is where I am bringing this to a close. You understand? We'll do 30 minutes. I'll take comments, I'll take questions at the end. I want to celebrate everybody that came here today. My name is Dr. Maxwell again. We'll continue Believe 5 next week. So do me a favor, like the page, share the video when we put the video on, and see you again next week. Do have a great weekend. God bless you. Bye.